CCT is field L5, my drag is 0, field L5, my drag is 0. Down CCT, from Eisenhower State Park, North Texas.
Victor Echo 3, Zulu November.
Daryl here, KG5 MDS, making another 2 wheels and 10 watt video. Today's subject is parts on the air activating while operating QRP. QRP is generally considered 5 watts CW or 10 watts single sideband. I've seen people say that you can't really do parts on the air activating effectively with QRP. I think that's nonsense. I don't know why they would say that. So do people do it. So do Summits on the Air. So do people do it all the time. I do think it's a minority opinion that you can't do QRP and parts on the air activation. But for whatever reason, I think there is a few people that think that. So I just want to throw out some of the pluses and some of the minuses about operating QRP, doing a parts on the air activation. Okay, first of all, I'm here in Texas. We're not really huge on summits in Texas, at least not in North Texas. There's very few around. So when I'm here, most of the time I'm doing parts on the air activations, not summits on the air activations. And the reason I do QRP, and one of the pluses for QRP, is portable operations. Summit on the air, people do it all the time because they can fit it in a backpack and such like that. I like being able to go out on my motorcycle, which doesn't have saddlebags or anything like that. It's just a cruiser. I like being able to go out, just strap on a backpack and go activate. So let me show you some of the equipment that I use, but portability is a huge part of going QRP. First of all, I do have a little small bag that I put things in, like my coax cable, okay, and I carry a few bungee cords with me. This is my battery. This is what I use to operate my radio QRP. I actually carry 2 of them, but I can operate a good 8 hours with this, and that's calling CW all the time. That's actively transmitting, and to get 8 hours out of this is plenty good, and that gets me down to about 50%. I don't like to go much below 50% of a battery's capacity. So again, everything's kind of small. I put this in my blue bag and I'm basically good to go with that stuff. The other thing I carry here is, this is another bag that I keep my KX3 radio in. So I have my microphone. I've got my power cord that connects to my battery. Okay. Here's my spare battery that I was telling you about. Okay. I also carry some earbuds in case it's a day like today where it's very windy. Okay. That kind of cuts down on the wind noise trying to listen. And then my KX3 I put in here and wrap it up in a little bubble wrap, and there's my Elecraft KX3 radio. So the blue bag and the little camouflage bag is what I need as far as bags to carry my stuff in. I will then take these 2 bags and put them in a backpack. Here's my backpack. So easy. It's not a huge backpack, but I can wear this on my motorcycle and make it out. I've got room that I can put other things in there, tarps. I can carry my little clipboard for logging stuff, carry some sunscreen, carry some mosquito spray. I mean, just a few other odds and ends, but it's very portable. I've got my soda mast. I've got a little broken down counterpoise stake that I use to hold it up off the ground. I can strap this to my backpack, or I can strap it to my handlebars on my motorcycle, and I'm good to go. Oh, I also have, this is my hams to go Can-Tenna in-fed antenna. So as you can see, it's very small. So I've got this. I can fit this in the little blue bag. That's where I keep it 99% of the time. Sometimes though, I just drop it in my pocket. Okay. So I do carry in my blue bag. This is a homemade version of my hams to go antenna, Can-Tenna I should say, and you can go on the hamstogo.com website and see how to make one of these if you want to. So that's basically my equipment. So you can see I'm very portable, only having those items. SOTA people do it because they want to hike everywhere. I just like to do it because I want to go on my motorcycle everywhere. So if I do a SOTA activation, I'm already set. If I want to do a parts activation but go on my bike, I'm set too with a small thing. Obviously, you got much lighter weight equipment. That goes into the theory of portability. So you keep everything down. I'm not sure what a KX3 weighs, but it doesn't weigh very much. My Can-Tenna antenna is about 4 ounces. My battery's probably about the same. I don't know. It's not very heavy. And then you got your other odds and ends. So I'm not carrying a lot of weight and stuff. Single sidebands. You know, you can reach a great distance with single sidebands. It's not uncommon. I'm in Dallas. I'll reach up into the Northeast. That's where I usually point my counterpoise. And I get into Canada. I get up into New York, Pennsylvania, all the time from Texas. So, and then I'll get, if I want to, I will get out west into the Northwest. But if I really want to work those areas, then I move my counterpoise that way. So that's really a function of the antenna, not the 10 watts. But with 10 watts, basically, I can cover the continental U.S. And I think that's plenty good for parks on the air. Now, if you want to work DX, you're probably going to have to get down to using CW or something like that. I don't get very many DX stations, I will tell you that. Unless it's like Mexico or in the Caribbean. Being here in Texas, I can reach those pretty easy. But basically, without going CW, I can cover the continental U.S. So I'm happy with that. Plenty enough to get my activations for a parks on the air. There's another plus to going QRP is a little bit of pride that you're only using 10 watts. A lot of people are surprised. Hey, you're 5'9", and I'll give them their signal report, and then they're like, well, hey, I'm running this, this, and this, and they're running, 500 watts or using a beam antenna or something like that. And then I'm like, well, I'm running 10 watts on a in-fed wire antenna, and they're like, wow, you're doing great. So it's a little bit of pride in doing it with just a simple 10 watts and such. So those are mostly pluses about the QRP operation. I want to mention some of the negatives. It's very difficult to break into a pileup if you're operating QRP. So if I want to do a park-to-park activation, sometimes I have difficulty with that because I can't overpower the stations running higher wattages. Okay, now I get plenty of park-to-parks. A lot of times other people will hear me and they'll tell the other station, hey, you got a park-to-park operating, calling you or something like that. So I'll get it, but it's not just super easy to get a park-to-park or break into a pileup when the other stations calling are using a lot higher power than you. Now again, when I'm activating and I'm parked on a frequency and I'm calling CQ and people are coming to me, it's not an issue. Okay, it's only when I'm jumping around the frequencies, I hear someone else at a park and I'm trying to break in, it's more difficult running QRP than it is at a more powerful deal. Okay, another negative about QRP operation is you can have other stations kind of take over your frequency sometimes. Doesn't happen to me too often, but somebody who won't be hearing me operating on frequency will start talking and take over the frequency. So that happens occasionally, not that often, but it is something. If you do QRP operating enough, it'll be something that you run into. It's not that big of a deal. You just move frequencies, or sometimes someone else will contact that station and say, hey, this frequency is in use. It's got to park on the air. Activation, please, go elsewhere, and they'll go elsewhere. Okay. And lastly, I think I already mentioned this. I don't get DX very often operating QRP single sideband. I don't do CW yet. I'm still learning that. I should have mentioned that earlier. So, except for like Central American stations, I'm not getting over to Europe. I'm not getting over to Asia on 10 watts. I have once when I was up in Sturgis in the Black Hills. I was on a summit, also a park activation because I was in the Black Hills National Forest, but I was up on a summit and I got a guy in Spain. And then one time just north of here, about, I don't know, 90 miles or so, up at Eisenhower State Park, I got a guy in the Ukraine, and we were 5'7" and 5'9". I think maybe it just freaky conditions and things were right, but it occasionally happens. But most of the time, as I said earlier, you're just going to do continental U.S. stuff. So anyway, that's my story about QRP. If you're considering it, I wanted you to hopefully get something out of this video and not be too afraid to try it, or have some more information to make an informed decision. So good luck to you. 73. Have a good day.